Hello, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make this morning about talking about the wonderful craft of being an actor or an actress at this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Anna Shaffer. The wonderful Anna Shaffer.
Achoo, thank you so much. Thank you.
So, your second day in Lithuania?
Third day
Third
here.
day in Lithuania.
Fourth day here.
Fourth day.
I got here late on Thursday.
Wow,
So technically on day 4.
Did you already learn the phrase sveikata?
No.
No, you went out yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't learn sveikata?
Yeah, I don't remember much of last night. I think we were drinking moonshine at one point, so that's not great. But
We do that. It's a sick trick that we do on tourists. We don't
Yeah.
drink that
That's
ourselves.
so mean. Why did you do that to me?
We're welcome to Eastern Europe.
Thank you.
Normal things don't happen here very often.
No, it was good fun and lovely to try some of the beer and yeah, eat some Lithuanian food that I'd not had before. So it was great.
Right. So welcome to Lithuania, first of all.
Thanks.
And let's start at the beginning. When was the first time that you actually realized that you're an actress?
Oh God. Well, I suppose there's still days that I'm like, is this what I do as my career? That's crazy. But I think definitely working professionally, I think, was the first time I was like, oh wow, this could be a career. This could be something that I could continue to do. Yeah.
So so at the age of 15, this is when it all started. It's
I know, that's when it all began.
age 15. It's well, as I remember, vaguely, it's a crazy time to be alive when you're 15.
Oh, it's the worst. It's
And,
horrible being
yeah,
15.
with the skin thingies and the
so much angst.
And then like you were just a normal kid at school, right?
Yeah, just a normal kid at school, and I went to a performing arts centre after school, and they had an agency attached to it, and they asked me to be part of the agency, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but sure.
How did they recruit you?
I think because I was doing classes there at the time, and they said, look, we've got this agency attached, and we think that you could do some work, and would you be up for that? And my parents were like, okay. I didn't think they really knew what it meant. I think my parents probably thought, oh, maybe she'll get an advert here and there and it'll pay for a nice holiday.
Yeah, like at some yogurt commercial.
Exactly. And my first audition was for a Vodafone commercial. Speaking about being 15, I remember this guy, the premise was that it was raining and he had to huddle under an umbrella, and somehow the phone was involved, I don't know. But this guy put his arm around me, and I was like, oh my God, I've never been touched by a boy, and like completely freaked out. So I'm meant to be pretending that it's raining and really enjoying this experience, and I was just there like that. So didn't hear back from that one. And then, you know, I know we can't really go into it because of the strike, but my second ever audition was for Harry Potter, and yeah, got that one, so...
Your life had to change exponentially, like, because like one day you're this kid that didn't get picked up for a Vodafone, and then the next one, everyone knows you. Like you had to go to your secondary school and being famous.
The thing is, I think, looking back, I'm so glad that my parents have always been really nonplussed by anything that I do. They love me and they're proud of me. But I could, you know, call them tomorrow and be like, Mom, I've been nominated for an Oscar. And she'd be like, okay, anyway, Dad did this.
That's
and like, they're so unfazed by things, but it's actually really nice and it keeps me so grounded, and my brother too. And I think they're really proud of us, and I think with their friends, they probably show off and say this, that, and the other. But to me, they're just like, yeah, all right, cool. Anyway, Strictly Come Dancing's on tonight. Let's talk about that instead. And so that was really helpful. And my friends are the same. Like, they just couldn't give a shit about me being an actor.
Well, sure, but those are friends. But like when you start getting recognized, like on the street, well, that's when it's a slight change from your normal reality that you lived before it happened.
For sure. But I think people, well, to me anyway, have always been so nice, and it's a kind of lovely interaction that you have, but it's quite brief, and then you just go on about your day, and it's not like I get mobbed or anything like that. You know, I can live a very, very normal life.
Now we're gonna be together forever, forever.
You know, and I think At 15, I was probably more interested in going to the park and trying alcohol for the first time and hanging out with my friends and going to parties than I probably should have been about doing this major professional job. And in a way, I think that was probably a good thing. But it's only looking back now that I think, oh my God, that was so major. And I love that I can appreciate it from afar now.
Did you, at that point, was the decision of becoming a professional actress made at that point?
Not
or
at all.
Was there like a major plan B?
No,
becoming a
I still
physics
thought
professor?
I would go to university because I was 15, and the plan was, okay, well, I'll stay at school, and then I'll go to university. And I did my A-levels, and I was applying to loads of universities, but then I got quite poorly in my last year of sixth form, and I had to sit out the last set of exams. So my plan was to repeat the year, basically, so that I could get the grades to go to university. And then when I did that, I had a few auditions and got an audition for this really random show, I don't think it even exists now, called House of Anubis, and it was a kind of kids, I think, fantasy show. And the makers of that also made a show called Hollyoaks, which is a UK soap that we have. And they called me and said, well, we'd actually like you to come and do a 3-month stint on Hollyoaks. And I was like, okay, I'll do that for 3 months, and then I'll go back and finish my A-levels. And then 3 months turned into 3 years, and I never went back to finish my A-levels. And then I stopped doing that and was like, okay, maybe I'll go to university as a mature student. But then I just keep getting another job. And I still sort of, to a certain extent, feel like,
oh, you're still gonna.
Oh, yeah.
You're still doing it.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Sure, it will.
I'll be with a walking stick.
You kids.
Yeah, it's gonna happen one day.
So did you? What was your? Walk us through your career as an actress. Like, did you go to Did you take some courses of acting? How did you learn to?
No, and it's actually a real insecurity of mine that I didn't train professionally as an actor, and it's why that I'm so keen on taking acting classes as much as I can when I'm not working. And I hope I'm not repeating myself if anyone was here yesterday. But I'm really keen to do that and to keep learning and to always try to better myself. So any time that I'm not working, I'll try and do a class. Or I also think it's so important to just watch as much as you can. So I try and see as much theatre as I can, try and watch as many shows, see as many films, even if I'm not necessarily a fan of the genre. I think it's good to sort of just immerse yourself in everything and choose and pick the bits that you do like.
It's sometimes actors, sometimes they do this sociopathic thing where they collect characters, like they would like sit on bus and watch people and get some kind of some personalities, and they steal the personalities, just like, oh, I like that, I'll collect that. Are you a collector?
I'm not a collector because I am the least observant person in the world, and it drives my husband crazy. We could be walking down the street and someone could, like, a house could just set on fire and I would not notice it, and he's just
really?
like, what is wrong with you? And my spatial awareness is terrible as well. He'll be like, you just walked into that person, what are you doing? It's like, I'm so sorry, I just didn't. I think I'm just so in my own world that I don't notice anything around me. So, you know, it's actually, I think some actors are really instinctive and it comes super naturally to them, and I don't think I'm one of those people. I think it's something that I really have to force myself to work at and to get better by practice, you know, and I'm not ashamed of that. I think that's okay, and it's kind of something that I just try and work on as much as I can.
Do you do a lot of auditions?
Yeah, not so much anymore. It's more self-tapes now because of since COVID, I feel like.
Yeah, I talked to a buddy of mine. He's he's an actor and he's based in London. Well, now in LA, but he was based in London, and he talked about how auditions changed through the years. Like, it used to be you had to go into a room and see like 12 different people that look exactly like you and like, oh, okay, now.
But better. You're like,
yeah.
oh, that's the hotter version of me coming out of the room. Great.
And now it's all online, right? So. Let's talk about how audition process have changed through the years, like when you started and how it.
You know, when I started, God, I actually really miss those days because you just don't have that human interaction anymore. But you'd sort of, yeah, as you said, you'd go somewhere that the casting office had hired, and there'd be a row of people that look a bit better than you, and you'd sit down and think, oh God. And also it would be awful because you could sometimes hear the audition happening, which is just torture, because you're like, oh, I didn't think I would do it that way. And then you get in your own head and start panicking that you've not prepared correctly. And now it's all self-tape, so you get an audition through and you have to film it yourself at home. I just do it on my iPhone because the cameras are so good, and I have a little tripod, and you have to do lots of Tetris in your flat, or I do anyway because I've just got stuff everywhere, so try and, you know, take
just
things
clean
off the
out
wall.
one section of the room.
Yeah, and it's always hell because you take something off the wall and then you're like, oh God, the wall's really grubby, and then you're just sat in front of the wall, just, yeah. So it's also a torturous experience. I don't love self-taping because I'm so critical, and you can just go on forever, which is, I guess, for some people the beauty of it, because you get infinite chances, but I think you also go a bit mad because you can, you know, when do you call it a day?
Right.
But you'll get a deadline, and then you send it off, and out it goes, and you hope you hear back.
Do you think it does the whole audition process justice when it's just you in a room with your camera and you can take as many takes as you want, like in contrast with when you have to go into the office and there are people there? So because when it comes to the job part of it, you have to be among people. So if you're like if it's just you filming yourself on camera, there's a slight chance that you're hiding your social anxiety, for example.
Totally. And which I guess can be beneficial in many ways, but I think what's interesting, it can force you to be a better actor because you have to essentially self-direct. You have to work out if you're hitting the right beats and decide what the tone of the scene is going to be, which is creatively exciting, but it also means that you're really just taking a stab in the dark, and you've got no idea if what you're doing is what they might want it to be like, and there's no one there to say, can we try it a different way, which you would get in the room. So I think that can be quite frustrating. But for me, I get very nervous before auditions, and it manifests itself physically. So I'm a bit of a shaker and a big sweater. So it's like sweaty upper lip and shaking. It's not a good look in the audition room. So in many ways, self-tapes have saved me from that huge embarrassment, and I can hide it. And then if you get the job, desperately work out how to make sure that doesn't happen on set.
All right, how many, well, in Lithuania, we have this sport called basketball. Maybe you heard of it?
I have.
So we're all basketball.
Shoot some hoops myself from time to time.
Oh, really? No. Come on, you're from London. So we like statistics. Well, basketball is all about statistics.
Okay.
So what would be, would you say, the percentage of auditions that you actually make and the auditions that you get to the second round of audition?
Well, as you know, I didn't go to university, so my maths is not great. But I would say maybe 1 in 20 you get. Like it's
20.
Yeah, it's not. You get seen for so much stuff, and you know, from a casting director's point of view, they want to see as many people as possible because they don't really know what they're looking for until they find it.
Mm-hmm.
And so often, actually, as much as back in the day you'd go and there's people that look like you, now I've got friends, you know, one of my actor friends is Ginger. And she'll be like, oh yeah, did you go for that? And I'm like, yeah, wait, what? And so you just see how wide they're casting the net, which is exciting and more democratic maybe, but you just go for so much stuff, and I think that's great because it means there's lots of opportunity, but you also know that there's so much stuff that you're not going to get. But that's the job.
But that's the part of the job. Like, how do you deal with rejection being a very normal part of the job? Like, because if it's 1 in 20, then you have to get used to the rejection and the whole psychological process of it. Like, you have to be ready to be rejected. On the other hand, you can't expect to be rejected because that might influence your performance.
I mean, I'm sure some actors get 1 in 5 jobs. I'm just sadly 1 in 20.
I don't think there are a lot of
but
actors
I think
with that statistic.
The thing I try to remember is that you're an actor every day. You're not just an actor when you're on set. You're not just an actor when you get the job. You're an actor when you're auditioning. You're an actor. You're doing the craft. You're putting the work in. And so I think, and it's all practice. It's all leading up to the job that you do get. So you have to really try and reframe it in your mind, but it's hard. You have to really have positive mental attitude, and it's some days you just don't. Yeah, you do, and it can take you to dark places sometimes when you've had a string of no's and you just think, you know, is it ever going to be yes? But
you have to. Is it hard not to beat yourself up after a series of what do you that buddy of mine from London, he told me the phrase that they use, the polite way of saying you didn't get the job is we decided to go the other direction.
Yeah, in another direction. Yeah, you're like, okay, cool.
So that is a very politically correct way to say F off.
Yeah. And I think casting directors are understanding more and more that as actors we're really keen to get feedback so that at least you can constructively, you could know, look, we didn't rate you, fine, or we genuinely did just go in another direction. I think it's kind of important to have some truthful feedback, and I think they are knowing that more and more, and it's always nice when you get some positive feedback and they go, it was really close, but we just decided to go for someone else. You think, okay, so I am in the right direction. But it is hard, but you just get used to it.
It's just for me, it sounds like such a weird thing to get used to.
Yeah. But I think for me as well, I find it really helpful actually, because a lot of the stuff, well, hopefully most of the things you're auditioning for, you want, you like the project and you're excited by it. So I always think, well, I'm definitely going to watch that when it comes out anyway. And there's actually a really nice feeling when you watch something that you auditioned for and you go, oh, of course. I was not right for that.
Are there times when you audition for something and then it comes out and you watch it and you think, oh, thank God.
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, that also
thank God I was hungover.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I'd like to talk about. Like, how important is it to turn down roles, like offers? Because well, you get suggested so many things, and then and then how the selection process of it all, because you get. Let's talk about your personal selection process of the
Things that
stuff
do
that
come
gets
through.
sent in.
Well, to be honest, it's something that I'm only growing in confidence to be able to say no the older I get. And I think, especially when you're starting out in your career, even if you're not particularly keen on a project, you just want to break. So you're like, yeah, sure, absolutely, I'll shave my head, I'll, get my...
Were you ever asked?
Yeah.
Were you ever asked to?
Thankfully.
We're gonna get you. Well, for this part, you're gonna have to. Yeah.
Do you know, we were talking about this actually in the car yesterday. For me, hair is just so part of my identity. I just don't know if I could do it.
Well, there's the thing. You're not. You don't think you would be able to do that, and here comes the man with a money bag, and it's
for sure. I think the price is always right at some point. But I think, in terms of saying no to things, there are a few different things that I take into consideration. Who's already attached to the project? Would it be exciting to work with these people? Would I like to work with them? Have I heard good or bad things about these people? Where's it being filmed? I think, I'm married now, and I'm from London. I live in London. I'm so close with my family, and I think being far away from for a long period of time, that's a factor that I would really consider. And is it scary? I think it should always be a bit scary. You should never...
If it's not scary, it's not worth doing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Does it terrify me? Okay, yes.
Oh, right. We had, several years ago, we had John Rhys-Davies on the panel. Beautiful person, beautiful human being. So his first words on the panel was, in the beginning, there was word. He used the Latin phrase in principio erat verbum, and he's like, he has this. So
sounds great.
And he's like, so in the beginning there was word. So the most important thing of it all is the script. When your part of your audition, it gets sent in, how much of the script do you see? Do you just see your snippet of your part that you're gonna do, or do you get the synopsis, or what?
It really just depends. If it's a project that is super top secret, sometimes you even have to sign an NDA, and then you just get sent literally your lines only, and usually they're dummy lines anyway that they've made up for the audition, so that can happen. But mostly you are sent at least something to accompany maybe one episode or the entirety of the film. And you always ask if you haven't been and hope that they'll be nice, so that there's some context at least, and you're not just, giving it your best shot. But I think, ideally, and that's actually my favourite thing, is reading the script. And getting to, especially if it's a feature film and you're like, wow, this is so incredible. But it's so funny, because you receive something in its infancy and you have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to be shot, what the lighting's going to be like, what the sound's going to be like, what the style is going to be like. So you're really kind of taking a gamble.
It's a lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different people that have such a huge influence on what the end product will be. You're just a teeny tiny cog. So you have to like the words and then hope that it's got a bit of magic in it somewhere.
But is it sometimes sometimes when you watch a trailer of a movie, the smart marketers, they put all of the interesting parts of the movie into the trailer, and then you go see the movie, and it's like, oh, they scammed me. All of the interesting parts I already seen in the trailer. Was it ever a case where you get the part and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome, and the rest of the script is just really bad?
I don't think I've had that yet. I think once I get, so obviously before, when you're in the initial stages, I'll read everything, but then if I get the part, I try to just have tunnel vision and just only read my bits and be in my story, because otherwise I get so distracted by everything else, and it's all really exciting. So I try to just remove my words from the script and then get rid of the rest, and then I'll watch it when it comes out, and that's really exciting. But otherwise, there's too much going on up there otherwise.
Right, let me just inform our lovely audience that we are taking questions. We have a microphone ready right there. We won't be able to take some of the questions of the previous and ongoing shows, but other than that, feel free to walk up to the microphone. We'll take your questions. So what was the most exciting, do you have your favorite story from the set when the excitement, when the job starts, it's magical. The first day, the second day, and then the wrap. And during that time, every single day is so different on set. Did you have your favorite day?
My favorite day in general is always the read-through. If you're lucky enough to get a read-through where everyone comes and there's always fancy tea and coffee and maybe a little pastry or something, and everyone sits around in a long table and you're all facing each other and you might not have met each other before, and that's really exciting. You go, oh, it's that person, and it feels
you only know them from when you come in. You don't know who plays which part.
No, sometimes someone might already be attached, but...
Do you play the game with your mind, I wonder who... Oh, that's probably... And then that one is... Oh, no? Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, it's quite exciting, and I think for me, because I dropped out of school and because I didn't end up going to university and because I haven't trained professionally, those days really feel like the first day of school, and I'll get my new pens and bring in a fresh notebook, and I really get excited by it because that feeling just is so special. I wish you could bottle that feeling before you know what it's going to be like, before the long days come and all the hard parts of the job. It's just so full of promise. So that's always my favorite moment.
How many do you? I guess you've done a lot of things, but do you remember whether there was some scene where you had to take numerous takes to get it just right?
I mean, I can be a bit of a giggler, so that can be bad when you just get the giggles and you can't stop, and then you have to keep going again. And so there's been a few moments when that's happened, and then it's okay, but let's be serious now, and I just can't stop. So that's not great. I always try and keep a lid on that. But I'm a fan of doing lots of takes. Some people aren't. They like to just get it done, and they think it should be fresh, and it's more of a theatre performance. But I quite like doing lots of takes and being able to explore different versions. But
would you ever consider to do theatre?
Yes, I love doing theatre. I did a play. That's my last job I did over the summer, and it was just the best time. There's nothing like it. The excitement of the premiere, the launch. Oh God! Well, I mean,
how do you cope with the adrenaline rush that you get before the first ever performance, before the premiere?
Oh yes, lots of a bit of a funny tummy, feeling very sick all week. I mean, it's funny, in the show that I just did, I didn't come into it until about 5-10 minutes of the play starting. So there was always the moment when I can hear that they're going on, and then I'm like, fuck. I don't have any option. I have to, they've started, so there's, I will have to go on at some point.
You have no control.
Yeah, just be pacing in the backstage, in the wings, pacing, and then I hear my cue, and there's always that moment where I'm like, maybe I could just run. Now's the time I could run, and then it's almost like my body is just moving for me, and then suddenly you're on, and it's like, okay, it's
then
happening.
You start, and then it just goes on. Yeah. Oh, did you ever have we in Lithuania, we call it white paper, when you're on stage and then your brain goes Brew.
Oh, yeah.
Dum. No script, sorry.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened to me, but I have done... and it's always when you're not focused and you're not in it, and maybe the nerves have got to you or something's happened just before and your mind just isn't focused. But I've had it where I've accidentally skipped a page of dialogue because I've said something and it's like, wait, what? And then that is bad because you're just not listening because it doesn't make sense. And then luckily I've always had very professional people who are there to just get us back on track, but that's always a bit scary. You're like,
yeah, well, it's not even sometimes the distraction is not I once got this white paper thing, because the show that I was in had a musical number, and I was shitting bricks about that musical number, and I was thinking about that musical number.
Yeah.
And the rest, it's easy.
Yeah.
And I've done it like 12 times already. That does it well. And then you're thinking about the musical number, and then your brain goes like, yeah, that's it. That's it. You're on your own. And the moment when you're standing there, and you're like, and the brain goes like, run.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
I can't,
no. Is that we have people bought tickets? Run. and the whole time just warps and is, and then you start going like, well, give me the line, and then after a while, which looks like five, you're standing there 5 minutes doing nothing, while in real time it's like,
and the audience
10
never
seconds.
notice.
And that's the thing, because one director told me, it's a very popular phrase that the audience don't know how it was supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was supposed to be
They're
weird.
like, God, he's so dramatic. That pause. Wow. It's like, what an actor. You're like, yeah, that's what I was doing.
I was meant to do that. That was what I was going
That's exactly what I was going for. But it's funny, I had a similar thing with this show that I just did because I had to sing in it. And, I love singing. I'm not the best singer. I can sing. But this was Whitney Houston singing.
Oh.
And so even in rehearsals, I refused to do it for at least 2 weeks in. I was like, I just can't. Nothing's coming out. It took so long to actually get any sound out of my mouth. So that was halfway through the play. So that was always my just get through that, just get through that, just get through that.
You had to do a Whitney Houston song in.
And the point of the song, because it was a pageant. And everyone goes before me, and everyone's meant to be just giving it their best shot.
And
then I'm meant to. So it was like, I can't
blow everyone away.
Oh.
Wow.
Hell.
And then, you just have to do a song of the greatest singer of all time.
Yeah, sure.
No problem.
So that would be, I'd just be waiting to get to that point. And then once that, I was like, oh, God, okay, great. So I think my acting up to that point, probably just terrified, but quite wooden, definitely thinking about something else. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, wow, she's really owning the stage.
Yeah, because the whole play is before, before that and after.
Before the song, after the song.
ACBC. That's it. Right. Well, you grew up in London. How often did you visit West Side?
Well, it's funny. It's so expensive now in London to go to the theatre. It's crazy. The tickets can be £150, 150. Yeah.
Oh, it's £150. You're going to be sitting there right up there with the pigeons.
Yeah, in the nosebleed seats.
Yeah.
What? And so luckily,
if you want to get great seats, £350.
Which I just think is a crime.
Robbery.
And I don't know who it's going to, because theatre does not pay very well. It's not going to the actors.
Musical actors in the musicals, they don't make.
I think maybe in musicals it's slightly better, but yeah, theatre is not great. You do it because you love it, not because it's paying your bills.
That's the same thing in Lithuania as well.
But
that's why they're all angry.
but it's so great. I think lots of theatres do discounted rates for students and things like that. So I actually saw way more theatre when I was younger, because you could get £5 tickets or even free tickets to go to stuff. And luckily, I always went to schools that were really keen on the arts and really supported that, and they would take us on trips and things like that. And so, yeah, I don't get to go as much as I used to. Because also just out of principle, you're like, no, that's not how much it should be to go to the theatre.
Yeah.
But there's some amazing shows and
What's
yeah.
your favorite musical?
I'm not a big musical person.
Oh, you're not?
I'm sorry. I've only ever seen Chicago and I didn't like it. I don't understand when people are speaking and then they're singing and then they're speaking again. Just do one or the other. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm open.
You should see the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
That one?
I will. That's my homework
amazing.
now.
And the West Side version of it, the West Side production of it,
Is
better than Broadway's.
oh really?
No shit.
Why do you think that is? Just
I don't know. That's probably because of the in the olden days. It's a very competitive environment between the Broadway and West Side. They've always been like, because back in the day, like after the World War, West Side was just Victorian plays with like the governor things.
yes.
And then they brought what was it? West Side Stories.
Actually,
then-
that's a good one.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
And then
Like
when
that.
they brought West Side Stories in, everyone just went crazy, and then it was monopolized by Americans for so long. And then but you know them Brits, they will not take
sorry about us.
American superiority for long. So yeah, so they and it's very competitive, and they do a very, very good job competing with Broadway for
Yeah.
quality of the musicals.
No, I'm so lucky to live in London and have it on my doorstep, and I should go more than I do.
But that's the thing, when you live in a city, well, you don't go to the place. It's for tourists.
I know.
It's for tourists. Why would I ever visit the museum?
But the cinema I am obsessed with. I go.
What was your favorite movie growing up?
Oh gosh, growing up, I used to love. What's it called? The Dear Darla, Alfalfa. What? I'm having white paper.
I'm just gonna leave you there with yourself to suffer.
No, I'm being dramatic. What's it called? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? No.
No.
It's about all the little kids, but they're like adults, and there's Alfalfa,
Smurfs?
and he loves Darla. No, that was my favourite one. I used to watch it all the time.
Right.
Not that you can tell because I can't remember the.
Do you have growing up? Like, did you have an?
Princess Bride was my favourite film.
Excuse me?
The Princess Bride was my favourite film.
Oh, really?
That's not the film I'm talking about, but that was my favourite film. I've seen that like
Haven't seen.
100 times.
Doesn't ring the bell.
The Princess Bride. Robin Wright Penn.
I'm sorry.
That's your homework.
Yeah, screwed up
That's
on
like
this
one of the best. That's actually like a good bad film. When you watch it now, you're like, this is.
I promise I'll watch it
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
Tonight.
You should
And
all watch it tonight. It's so good.
I'll send you a DM in
Please.
Instagram about how much I loved it.
I want your review. I want your rating. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
And
on
I'm
it.
going to see Book of Mormon.
I'm on it. And
Paying £300 to sit up, like, damn.
so, did you have a favorite actress that you kind of looked up to?
Oh gosh, I love Sally Field.
Sally Field.
Yeah, I just think she's fab. And Julia Roberts was like the ultimate. I think I've seen every Julia Roberts film ever, even Eat, Pray, Love.
She's very magnetic.
Like that smile.
That's it.
Oh my God, her laugh.
That's it.
Yeah.
You just kind of sit there and drool.
Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah.
Was it like for every classically trained actor, it's like an example. They love to do Hamlet.
Yeah.
And it's like the pinnacle of the art, the craft. Is there something you would like to do?
I'd love to do something that is completely different to me and kind of maybe be a bit of a baddie and a bit...
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
serial killer or something.
Yes, I'd like to be a serial killer.
It's always fun to do the evil parts. Everyone says that it's more fun to do evil parts
I
than the
think
good
so,
ones.
yeah.
Like, because the sprinkles and rainbows and I'm so nice, and then when you get to be like this.
I think that would be fun.
Would you like to release your dark side
Yes.
into the world through screen?
Please.
Oh, by the way, do you like to watch yourself on screen?
I hate to watch myself on screen, but I
Are
think...
you a perfectionist?
Yes, and I also think you could always do it differently or better, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, and you're like, oh, why didn't I? But you just can't get into that conversation in your head because you'll be there forever and you'll drive yourself crazy. So I reluctantly do it because I think it's important to do it. You learn from it. You learn
One
from
of the
your
most important
performances.
things of
but I don't
improving.
enjoy doing it.
So you're just watching yourself and go
Like,
and beat yourself up like,
And then usually I have to do it a few times because the first time I'm going, oh, I look so ugly, I'm disgusting. And then I haven't even looked at the performance. Then the second time it's like, okay, I'm over that. But like, oh, well, why am I doing that with my hands? And then it's like, oh. And then it's like, okay, is it believable? Is it?
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so I have to watch it a few times, which is just a nightmare over and over. But then I come to terms with it.
But it's suffering. Working with yourself while watching your own scenes, and like, you're a big critic of yourself?
Yes, definitely. But I think you should be. I think it'd be
Absolutely.
crazy to watch something and go, God, I really smashed. Perfection. It's funny. This when I was in Hollyoaks, the soap that I mentioned earlier, we all kind of lived in similar flats and all together. And one of my castmates, we lived together, and she was dating this guy, and I wasn't a huge fan of him. And I remember once we were all watching the show together, and he had to do this like emotional scene, and he moved himself to tears with his own performance. I have never seen anything like it. I was like, sorry, what is going on here? And I always remember that. I'm like, as long as I'm never that guy, I think I'm doing
Christ,
okay.
because it's just so hard to be that wonderful person. Oh my God, the things I went through.
Yeah.
Anna, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank
Ladies
you for
and
having
gentlemen,
me. Thank you so
put your
much
hands
for
together to
listening,
Anna
everyone.
Shaffer.
Thank you. Thank you, Achu. Thank you.